If you are joining us here, thank you for coming on board. We're coming to you every day at 3 p.m. and talking about all things that are happening in CK. This segment is hosted by your TV, so thank you very much. We are exactly 8 weeks into the local pandemic that was announced back, I believe it was March the 11th. And where are we now? We are in the middle of Mental Health Awareness Week. So it's, I think it's very timely. A lot of folks are struggling right now. So that's going to be our conversation all week. Our guest today is Elizabeth Downey. Elizabeth is a local artist. In fact, many of her pieces are hanging in our building at United Way. I was just talking to her about, I think that she's one of my favorite. Elizabeth lives here in Chatham-Kent with her 2 kids, her 2 doodles, and a kitten. Elizabeth was a high school teacher in the U.S. and then came back over to Canada and taught elementary. She's the founder of a warehouse, which we will get into a little bit later. Anyhow, while I was on checking you out, Elizabeth, checking out your website, I came across this statement. And it said, in between your doing art, that you can be found discussing kindness and that it can be harder to be kind than you might think. And that sort of resonated with me. And I guess it resonated because, it doesn't matter where you go. There's a lot of stress out there, right? Like even yesterday when I was at the post office trying to pick up packages, lined up all around the building and there was 12 people in line. So 12 people is not a whole heck of a lot, but, keeping 12 feet and listening to people bicker, because they're stressed, right? And I've been finding myself sort of able to step back and going, okay, be patient, be kind. Everyone is experiencing something completely different. Yesterday, I wasn't having one of those days that I had the extra be patient. So it totally resonated when you made that statement. It's harder to be kind than you might think, but that's how I read it. What do you mean by this?
Gosh, being kind is, I think we're told that being kind is often, especially as women, we're told that being kind is actually not asking for what we need or not standing up for what we want or what is right. Being kind is almost kind of ubiquitous with being, almost like a mouse, right? And so when you start standing up for yourself and when you start saying, okay, no, it's actually not kind for me to be quiet about this because it's denigrating someone else because of my silence, for example, then you're being kind not only to yourself but to the people that you've silenced. And so I think we've been socialized that kindness is almost a weakness. But true kindness is that space between what's right and acting on it, kind of what's right and action. That's where kindness sits. It sits from this place of truth and honesty, and it allows us to to come from a place of love instead of a place of fear or anger or whatever, or distrust.
Gotcha. And even the point on being kind to ourselves, that's another thing that resonates, right? Because in the midst of all of this, COVID-19, it's kind of easy to beat yourself up over, the job that you're doing or that you're not doing, or, and that you can't figure it out, or that it's taking some time, right? So.
Well, and it's such a strange time that we're in. Like because we have never had. Sorry, my daughter just texted to let me know she's going for a bike ride. Because we haven't had a chance for to look back and say, okay, oh, this is how they got through X, right? We're living in this going, okay, so what is right? Should I be learning a new language because all the people online are saying, you've got downtime now, or you've got the focus that you never had before because all of the extracurriculars are gone. You should be learning a new skill, or now you can clean out your garage, or now you get blah, blah, blah. But self-kindness is again, that space between knowing what's right and action. And so you got to look at yourself and say, okay, well, what feels right for me right now in this moment? Like, to be honest with your viewers, we were supposed to maybe do this yesterday or the day before. And I texted you guys and I said, you know what? I'm not in a headspace today. Today, I'm not, I need some space. Today, I need to be kind to myself and shut out the world for a little while so that I can be better tomorrow. Right. And so here I am today. And because I allowed myself that space and I was kind to myself and said, I'm not going to, today's not the day for laundry. Today's not the day for, teaching my dog how to use a typewriter. Today is going to be me in bed, in my cocoon, like with my kids taking care of themselves so that I can be better tomorrow. Because sometimes kindness is saying, whoop, I'm calling it a day.
Not today.
Yes. Yeah, not today, Satan. Also not today, me.
Okay, so now getting back to a warehouse, and I did go onto your site and I read a little bit about it, but tell me, how it came to be. The name is phenomenal. I love a warehouse.
Yes.
Where did you get the name? How did it come to be? And what is a warehouse all about?
Well, it's kind of, that's like everything in my life. It's all kind of squished together into a nice little ball. My original studio was actually in a warehouse. And so an element of it was me saying, I'm going to the warehouse or I'm going to the studio or whatever. And so there was already that kind of vocabulary in there. And so when I started working, I had this kind of, in Colorado, my students used to call it a CTJ. You have a come to Jesus. When you have to have, because when he needs to talk to you, you don't walk away, right? And so I had this CTJ with myself and I said, is teaching what you need? Is teaching it, right? Is that the brass ring? And when I let go of that ring and I said, I'm going to do art because it's teaching in this way wasn't feeding my soul. Again, that idea of how to be kind to myself, right? I moved to that warehouse. I started working, and over a period of months, parents started reaching out to me, and they would say, my kiddo's struggling with X. Can you please, can he or she come and see you for a little while? Or my kid's really having issues with frenemies or anxiety or whatever. Can they come and hang out with you for a couple days? And so the kids have always found me, whether I want to teach in quotation marks or not. And so they started coming, and part of my warehouse then became a space for you to become more self-aware. And then I was, how memes are the only thing that are relevant anymore. I was looking and there was this meme of a werewolf in like yogi outfit, like doing a meditation pose. And it said a werewolf. And I was like, that would be my perfect, right? Like a big fuzzy werewolf. And I was like, that would have to be my mascot. And so that's kind of how the name came up. It was a warehouse because it was a warehouse, but also it made you more aware. And then we moved studios, and actually I just moved studios again because of COVID, and I don't have programming because mainly my programming was with kids. I just moved my studio back to my home into my garage because I was thinking, how do I make a warehouse in a post-COVID world where we might need to have space? And I thought, well, I could put my easels out on my front lawn and people could find their space to work there. And so but these are things that 2 months ago you never would have considered, right? Like literally I was like seconds from having a March break camp to whoops, that's done. Whoops, okay, no school. Whoa, okay, now it's May. It's not even April. It's May, right? Like, oh no, I guess it's April. What day is
No,
it?
it's May. It is May. Like, trust me on this because it was funny because today I was like, is it Tuesday or is it June?
Right.
Oh,
Is it Tuesday or June? I don't know. 11.
so when we were having a conversation a little bit earlier, you had mentioned that I just want to make this statement. You mentioned that parents came to you because they trusted you, and I said to you, like honestly, as far as trust and leadership goes, it's for me. If I were to pick it out, it's your vulnerability, Elizabeth. You and I are friends on Facebook, so I do see your posts, and I sometimes struggle with going onto Facebook. I really do, and I know that I know that I'm not alone there. It's the politics, it's the perfect lives, it's and I come across your post and it either, it brings some emotion anyways. It's whether it's, a big smile, like, thank you for, saying that out loud, because it's been in my side, inside of me.
Yeah.
But I just want to throw that out to you. That's why parents trust you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's I've always kind of felt, even when I was a kid, I remember thinking, well, I can't be the only one feeling this. And then when I would talk to people about it, again, just even as a kid, they'd be like, yeah, I've been feeling that too. And so it's kind of just been part of who I am, I think, is to is to go, okay, parenting's super fun, but today, look what happened. Or hey, love my life. But also I could go to Belize and maybe change my name, because I know I'm not the only one, right? And so, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thanks for
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
So obviously, programming is on a little bit of a hiatus right now
Mm.
with COVID-19 and social isolation regulations. Do you have any maybe tips that you would share for either whether it's parents or youth or anyone else out there that might be maybe struggling with mental health? Because I'm sure in light of people being more isolated than ever, uh, anything that you could that creative, right? Like because we can only do things virtually anymore.
Yeah, right. It's well, it's funny because well, first off, I do I mean, programming for money is off right now, but I do a little 15-minute kind of art challenge every day on my Facebook. It's live. I draw. I respond to comments. We chat about whatever's going on that day. So in that sense, there is kind of, for me, I'm not great at schedules. I'm not great at time. But if I have one thing I can do, then there's a possible chance that I might have kind of an idea of a day. Um,
Where do
so in
people
that,
find that, Elizabeth?
oh,
Sorry.
it's like my Facebook is Elizabeth Downey, Downey. And it's, yeah, it's just every day about 10 o'clock. I just go live. Um, and so you can scroll through all my past stuff too, and you can add me if you want. If you don't, it's a public thing. I really do it because I firmly believe that creativity is going to be how we get through life in general, but especially this time. In times of uncertainty, we need to express what's going on inside us, um, creatively. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be, a canvas or, pencil to paper. Your creative thing might be changing up your workouts. Your creative thing might be baking. Your creative thing might be learning TikTok dances, which is what my daughter's doing. And I told her today, I know I'm the worst at TikTok. Like, it's bad. It's really bad. I know, right? But
I
my
love it.
daughter
I
loves
love
it.
it.
She's constantly like, shh, and I'm like, do you have some sort of syndrome? Like, what is happening that you're constantly doing things? And she's like, no. And the song comes on the radio. And anyway, whatever it is that's your thing, that you can say that I'm doing it this way today because this is the way I feel. That's your creative outlet. And so I think that's the drive behind everything we're seeing on Facebook that does overwhelm us. That learn a new language, build the birdhouse, reno the basement, blah, blah, blah. I think it's because those people have found the creative way that they need to express themselves. But what we take out of it, I think, is that you're a slacker if you're not doing those things, right? So a little bit of it is change the way you think, right? Don't look at it as I'm not doing enough because I haven't learned how to make an eclair, right? It like look at it as, oh, that's that person's creative outlet. My creative outlet is sewing, which is why those masks are going crazy, right? Like, yes, we need them, but all these people are using their creativity to create them. So make sure that you're doing one thing a day that feeds that voice that can't come out of your mouth, right? Or unless you're a singer, and then have at her, let it come out your mouth. But right, like that's so much a part of our mental health as humans. I think is to create. We just need to find the way that's right for us.
And that's part of being kind to yourself as well, right? Like,
Oh my gosh, right? Because you can't. There's no money in the world. There's no amount of money you can make in the world that will ever be enough if you're not doing what your heart needs you to do. There's no amount of money. It will not matter to you if you make, sorry, now I've got my foot all asleep here. It will not matter to you at the end of the day whether you make $7 a year or $7 trillion a year. If you aren't happy doing what you're doing, there's no vacation that you can buy that will fix that. It has to come from your truth, whatever that truth is. It has to come from your heart and your space of complete honesty, right? And that I like maybe that's part of that vulnerability that you're talking about, because it can be really difficult to hold on to that, or to admit that part of you is real, because we're told a lot growing up, you're too loud, you cry too much, you're too alone, you're too you react too big, whatever the thing is, right, that shames us, unknowingly, I'm sure, because I don't think our parents would knowingly hurt us, right? But we learn to stop listening to that truth, and the second we can go back and say, no, today, for example, yesterday I spent my day in a cocoon of blankets, like with a hot drink in my hands, and just like nobody around me, right? Because that's what I needed yesterday. And today now, because I listened to that truth and I let that wave of like junk hit me, that tsunami hit me. Well, it wasn't a tsunami yesterday, honestly, but it was more like a big wave. But it hit me and it went through because I was going with the flow of it, right? If I'd stood there and said, this isn't real, this isn't really going to hit me, I can stop it with my magical mind, right? It would hit me, it would knock me down. I'd have sand in all the bits, like it would be a mess, right? And that, I think, is the difference. And the moment that you're using your creativity, you're learning to flow with that natural rhythm of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I am completely following you. Thanks
Cool.
for, I really appreciate you sharing your personal experience yesterday, because I think that it is completely relatable. And going back to being kind, it's just it's a good way to be kind to yourself, right? To give
Yeah.
you the time out, right?
Oh, yes. Time out. That's perfectly named.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us today, Elizabeth. It's been a really joyful conversation. And for all of yous out there joining us, please be safe, stay informed, and in the words of Ellen DeGeneres, be kind to one another. And probably most importantly, be kind to yourself, because you got to survive, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.